Yes, good morning. You're still watching Power Breakfast right here on Citizen TV, and it's that time when you take a look at the headlines this morning. And a quick look at the headlines, even before I introduce my panelists. Raila is a bad loser, says William Ruto. That's the Star. Court retreat put off after Wetangula Kalonzo withdraw. Ford Kenya and Wiper stay away from NEC, claiming leaders are very busy with party engagements, forcing that cancellation. Bwana Kaluma will tell us why. That's a standard. The Daily Nation deported drug lord arrested in Nairobi, but that's not the most interesting story on that page. Blows, kicks as bid to oust Kidero foiled. An attempt to impeach Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero failed yesterday after members of the county assembly fought in the chamber. We do have that story on Citizen TV as well. Now, to help us discuss these headlines this morning, we have on my extreme left, Vincent Kimosop, a policy analyst. Next to him, Peter Kaluma, Member of Parliament for Homa Bay. On my right, and for the very first time on this panel, Francis Mwangangi, Member of Parliament for Yatta. I was also considered a defector, and he'll explain to us how that came to be. And of course, a very familiar face on this panel, Isaac Mwaura, nominated Member of Parliament. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Now, probably, let's start with you, Hon Francis Mwangangi, because you've been listed among the defectors, yet you're not a member of CORD, but you want to join Jubilee. Help us understand that so that we can know where to place you.
Thank you. I don't know why. I'm also asking myself the same question, because from day one, I've been working with the government. I've been, even in Parliament, I've been sitting on that side. And you can check, even from Parliament, all my parliamentary committees are courtesy of Jubilee government. So I'm really wondering why.
So which party sponsored you to Parliament?
It's a long story, but to answer your question, it is Muungano Party, the one associated with the Makueni governor, Professor Kibutha Kibwana. Okay. You know, why I'm saying it is a long story is because initially, maybe you can understand, because initially I played a key role in Kaluma's side before I got elected. But I won, and you know what happens around that time. You can't say it was Mwaura, it was Kimosop or Kaluma. But circumstances then demanded you just get anything, as long as you contest.
You're saying you lost a party nomination?
Yes.
Wiper party nomination?
Yes.
So you moved to Muungano, you got a Muungano certificate?
In fact, it was not even me. It was people from across Yatta. I don't know where they got that party ticket.
They brought the party ticket to you?
Actually, it was even brought to me in my house.
Victim of the party primary chaos. So you were in Wiper, which is under CORD.
Yes.
But because of botched party primaries, you moved to Muungano, which is associated with Kibutha Kibwana, the governor for Makueni. So you've been a Muungano party member of Parliament.
Yes.
But aligned to the Jubilee side.
Yes. But I will tell you something. I did not find myself to that side. When we were elected, and I'm on record on several times, talking about the same. When I came to Parliament after my election, I tried to go to the other side, but I was chased away. I could not even be invited for a parliamentary group meeting.
Okay. So when you're considered a defector, does it mean you want to leave the Muungano party and join the Jubilee party?
I don't know what is the intention of whoever is putting me in that list, but I don't care.
But are you looking forward to defecting to Jubilee Party? Because we need to understand where to position him for matters of this discussion.
Get it clearly. When that time comes, and the decision will be made, and this decision does not lie on Mwangangi. Remember, I said that party ticket was brought to me in my house. I did not go for it, and my God knows I did not even bother.
Okay, so yes, a quick question.
Yes.
As things stand now, are you more on the side of CORD or the Jubilee party?
Jubilee.
Jubilee.
Yes.
Then that's clear. Yeah. Then you're in good company there, because that's the side for the defectors. So now we understand where to place you as we move on with this discussion.
Fred, please clarify so that there is a boundary here.
Yes, we have a member from ODM.
Yeah, this is why I'm sitting.
And when Vincent Kimosop, we do understand is objective, a member of this panel. Yeah. Now, before we get to the politics, I want us to discuss what is happening with the IEBC and the discussions on exit package. And of course, we understand that even the meeting that was to take place yesterday to discuss that exit package did not take off because the commissioners themselves are still discussing that, and probably the the negotiations will continue today. But even as that goes on the front page of the Standard, down there, this headline reads like this: key election timeline missed as IEBC hints at date change again. Now, the issue of timelines is something we've talked over and over again here on this panel. And of course, many of you, members of the National Assembly, have dismissed this. And I've actually, I will put it to you that even the loopholes, the loophole in the election amendment bill that was negotiated by the Joint Select Committee was rubber-stamped by the same National Assembly. So if at all there was any problem with the loopholes, it can be blamed squarely on members of the National Assembly and members of the Senate, because they abdicated on their role and passed a bill that had loopholes. Yes? The silence means that you agree.
No, not quite. Actually, Fred, you see, we had so many amendments. Personally, I had my own amendments to the election laws amendment bill.
In terms of the timelines, because that's a problem now.
Let me explain.
Yes.
First and foremost, the timelines by themselves alone, leave alone the idea of amendments, they were actually untenable in this regard. Number one, the timelines for elections are also affected by the budget. Now, I have been a member of the budget committee, and we have agonized a lot about the budget process, because you have to simply truncate it. It is almost impossible to pass all those, bills or policies, like the budget policy statement, budget outlook review paper, in good time. In fact, and I think the Speaker will recall, our long session, recess between December and January has to be cut very short, because the issue is we don't have time. And then now when you look at now, because IEBC, before this whole issue of commissioners going away, they had actually issued a very elaborate timeline. But now this timeline has been, cut short, because you need to bring in new commissioners. Of course, commissioners must up their game. That is why they are still delaying the negotiations. It's their democratic right, because they want to go home with a good package. But look at a new, electoral commission. Of course, somebody will argue and say the people who actually, superintend over elections are the secretariat, led by my good friend Ezra Chiloba. But you have the policy leadership of the commissioners. And before they actually settle down, you are giving them at least 3 months, because they will be newbies, and we are encouraging people of good intention to actually apply for these jobs, including those who may be on this panel. The issue I'm trying to say is this, that we need to be realistic. And it looks like, I have just seen that they're saying it will cost us another 4 billion shillings. But my take is that with an election in August, and let us not set ourselves up for failure. People will accuse others by saying, like for us who are already in the National Assembly, that we may want to extend our term in Parliament. But with this, we have a very short timeline. A lot still remains to be done. Remember, even the whole support around the election system is about to strengthening the IEBC.
Yes.
And we do not want to go into an election when the credibility of such a body is put into jeopardy. And also, Jubilee would want IEBC, for example, to conduct its primaries. You see? So that is a whole... That's a whole...
And that is one thing. That is one thing that even the current commissioners have said is going to be practically impossible, because 10 months to the elections, we are still talking about the exit package of the current commissioners. And remember, we cannot even start recruiting new commissioners until these positions are vacant. That means it might take 2-3 more weeks before that vacancy is actually declared.
That's why, Fred, we are saying that we actually need to seriously consider. I stand to be lynched on this one. We actually seriously need to consider whether we can extend this whole issue to December. That would
The
require,
election date?
Yes, that would require a constitutional amendment. And we need to be open about each other. If we are not ready, remember Kriegler recommended that you need at least 2 years before a new commission, before you do the elections. So we cannot just expect angels to come from an interview panel and then conduct these miracles. It's not possible.
Yes, Hon Mwangangi.
I'll say three things. One, for business colleagues, Kaluma, yourself, and the rest, would wish, considering the mood in the country, would wish these elections done as early as this December.
Yes.
For continuity and stability and for the continued economic growth that has been there. Number two is we need a credible process of elections. And number three, you remember there was a report that was tabled in Parliament. My good friend Kaluma here had several amendments. And I urged him to continue because that was also touching on what you are saying. But I was surprised, 11th hour, both sides of the house, they said one Baba has read and another one I don't know what, and all the amendments we dropped. It is true. Which again, I am not blaming anyone. I'm not blaming anyone.
You're part of that National Assembly.
So in this case, I think for sure, if we would now start talking about pushing these elections to another time other than August, we are hurting the economy of this country. Seriously, it doesn't matter what happens.
Bwana Kaluma, of course, the last time, the last elections, the issue that came out was about the BVR kits and their failure, so to say, that they allegedly failed. Now, with this delay in getting a new commission, it has delayed everything else, even the acquisition of the new technology that's going to be used in the next election, which needs to be tested. The procurement process needs to start. The commissioners were even yet to start even thinking who will it be. Don't you think we run the risk of having elections and saying, oh, those elections are not credible?
We have only 11 months to elections. The matter of acquiring BVR is not the business of the commissioners. You know, these Jubilee people have not read the law. We passed. We have created a technical committee and we have established or rather integrated technology into the electoral process. And we have said that there will be mandatory BVR, biometric voter registration, mandatory electronic voter identification, and mandatory electronic results transmission from polling stations simultaneously to all levels of the electoral process. So that we have also said that it is this technical committee in which there will be representatives from all stakeholders in the political process, including political parties, to identify, to procure, to install, to code, and of course to operationalize the entire ICT. Essentially, we have removed the power to declare, results and to manage the electronic system from the IEBC. Now, it is as simple as requiring the stakeholders who should be putting people into the technical committee to identify their people and put there. And if they have read, that particular law, I can tell you on the court side, we already know who we are going to propose because we have people who know technology and what works best for purposes of elections. Let me say it this way. Let nobody be deceived that the election date can be moved. Remember, if you are going to change the election date from the second Tuesday of August of the 5th year, which will be next year, 8th of August, then you need a constitutional amendment. If you are going for a constitutional amendment, there are so many, pre-publication processes it goes through. Unlike other laws, if you want to amend the constitution, even without referendum, you have to publish it, and it will take over 90 days waiting for the public's, thoughts to be galvanized around it, so that there is objective thoughts by the country in terms of public participation before it goes to pre-publication and all that process. So I'm personally one person who has moved a constitutional amendment, and I can tell you it takes not less than a year to have a bill on constitutional law there. We had said that we are passing this law, and Fred, we made so many sacrifices, like the ones he's talking about. There are are some things I passionately, felt ought to have been, amended in the bill that is now law about elections. But we sat with our party leadership and we looked at the whole thing. And the direction we got from our party leadership is that in a negotiated deal, you get as much as you give. We could have, lost on this, but we also got so much on this. On a balance, let us move the thing forward because of the timelines. Now, the Jubilee side appears to me to be thinking that they can delay these processes so that we extend the election. As CORD, we are not going to play along. We are not in the business of keeping government in office. As the alternative government, we want Jubilee to go as fast as it can go. If the Constitution says 8th of August, even that 8th of August is far from us. You remember how long it took, Fred, for the president to sign the new bill into law. What was he doing with it? Knowing clearly that timeline was an issue in the process. And of course, you eat into those timeline. It affects the date when the new law comes into force.
Incidentally, today's 30th of September, yes? And today was the last day that this IEBC commissioner was supposed to be in office.
The president was doing that deliberately. Let me deal with this matter you're talking about. You know, Fred, in my other life, I was a pupil of Professor P.L. Lumumba. I was then his employee as an advocate in his firm. Then I was his partner by the time I was going to the commission. When he was kicked out of office by law, through parliament, in the manner we are kicking out Isakasan and others, he was so kicked out. To date, nobody has sat down to bother whether Professor Lumumba should be paid a coin. Why are we discussing matters private contract as if they are public issues? Why should Isakasan and those commissioners, mortgage our public office saying we are not going to leave until we are given what we want to be paid? That is a public office. The law said they are going home, they should not be there, they should go. The bodies which should be selecting members of the selection panel should be doing so that we move the process forward. But the idea that you say Sakasan still blackmailing people when we have a law saying he should be out by 30th of September, lends truth to what we were saying, that these current commissioners, the outgoing commissioners, had a deal with Jubilee. And of course, the niceties, you see the Jubilee government taking them through. Why should we hear that Isakasan is negotiating with the Treasury and others? That's a private thing. Yes. If it is not working for them, they go to court and enforce it. But they cannot sit in office saying, we'll be given money until we are given money. We are not leaving. Whose office is it?
Yeah. Kaluma, I think let's be fair here. But there was, I wish members of parliament, you guys, if you gave a date of commencement for the legislation, actually it would have sorted what we have. So I think one of the things that happened is that that was missed. And what we are seeing currently is really a lack of strong demonstrated leadership across the divide. Because I think, Kaluma, you had a negotiation. If we now start saying Jubilee or CORD, what we miss on the greater good of injecting confidence, because we don't want, in my view, we don't want a situation whereby it comes out that CORD has won or Jubilee has won on this election reform. It should be Kenyans have won. Because the issue we were addressing was an issue of public trust. We had a conversation with Kaluma on our way to this panel, and we said the IEBC, the reason they went was that one side of the political divide felt that they don't have the confidence to go into an election under the current commission as constituted. Yes. So it was not an issue of, it was an issue of public trust. So in my view, the current protracted discussions on their payment should actually not be a public issue, because what we have seen clearly is the demonstration and the commitment that the government is going to do